Hi everyone, this is Eric Bond, the founder of Beat the GMAT, and welcome to today's webinar. We're calling this session the 5 things you must know before applying to business school, although I'm seeing a slightly different quote here on the screen. And this is a joint session with Beat the GMAT as well as Precision Essay. So just a couple words about Precision Essay as well as our host, Jon Frank, before we begin. So for those of you who are familiar to the Beat the GMAT community, you've probably seen many great posts by experts from Precision Essay in the past. They're one of the top MBA admissions consulting firms and coaching firms that exists. So what I recommend is after this session, definitely check out precisionessay.com. That's a really cool website, has a great blog and a lot of resources and also a listing of their services and how they help applicants like us here in Beat the GMAT. Jon Frank is the founder, one of the founders of Precision Essay. He has a great background. Well, I should also mention that he's done several sessions, some of our most popular sessions for our community in the past. So it's a real pleasure to have him here today to talk about some of the things that we can do to prepare for our admissions later this season. So Jon, his background, he's been a serial entrepreneur, done a number of roles in finance, real estate, his own startups. And one thing that I think is really unique about Jon is that he has this irritating part of his work experience, or I guess his life experience, where he had the opportunity to attend Stanford, to attend Kellogg, attend Harvard. Ultimately, he chose Harvard and rejected Stanford and Kellogg. I'm really jealous. It's a privilege. It's sort of a nice privilege to have. And I think along the way of his successful MBA admissions and also in his latest venture as in running Precision Essay, he's clearly demonstrated that he has a passion for helping MBA applicants like ourselves to get into the top schools. And indeed, he and his team have helped thousands of MBA applicants over the last few years. So with that said, why don't I turn it over to Jon. Jon, thank you so much for hosting this session with us today, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Hey, thanks, Eric. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. Good evening to everybody, depending on where you are here in the world. I am in sunny China, where it is exactly about 9 o'clock in the morning or so. So we're in the process of opening up a new office here. Things are very busy, but it's very, very important for us to check in and to work with our friends at Beat the GMAT. And we've done a lot of these presentations in the past, and we're excited to kick this one off as well. Before we get into it, just a few quick announcements for everybody. The first is there are going to be a lot of questions as we go here, and that's the plan. I'm just going to talk for about 30 minutes, give or take, although my track record is to go way, way over. I think this time we should be right in about 30 minutes. If you have questions, great. Go ahead and type them in if you would. We're going to get to the questions at the end in the second of the 30 minutes. So questions are welcome. Please go in and ask them freely. A couple other quick announcements is what have we got here? Oh, we're running a huge sale right now at Precision Essay. Things are a little bit slow in the season. As you can imagine, the business is very seasonal. So as a result, just to keep our guys busy, got a lot of Magic 7 MBAs that are working. We're offering 30% off everything. Every package that we offer, 30% off. As part of that, you also get access to, we're calling it an all-access pass to our advanced essay writing bootcamp as well. We've got a bunch of other webinars coming up. There's a lot going on. So check out the website. Lots of things happening. And with that, we are off to the races. Let's get into it. It's true, Eric. I paraphrased just a little bit when I was interpreting this presentation. So we've sort of re-entitled this presentation. Sure, it's only April, but here are 5 key ways to improve your MBA application now presentation. There's a lot to do, and let's get into it. There are a lot of reasons to not get started, and we hear them every year. Okay, let's go through them. By the way, this is Georgia the Bulldog. Georgia will be our friend throughout this presentation. Georgia, like so many of us on this call, wants to lie around and not get any work done on the MBA applications. Let's talk about that. One, well, gosh, John, essay questions change from year to year. Why should I begin writing my MBA applications? I don't even know what the essay questions are going to be. John, you're an expert. You don't even know what the questions are going to be. How can we possibly get started? Okay, sounds fair. Furthermore, schools haven't even released their applications yet. Forget the essay questions. I don't even know what I'm going to need to do here in order to apply. Right? How could we possibly get started when the applications themselves don't even exist to start writing? Third, John, my application, my background, everything's pretty much set. I'm going to be applying in 6 months. I'm not leaving my job. I've already got my extracurricular background. Not much is going to change between now and then. Okay, so how much can I realistically change? Okay, and the last one, this is my personal favorite in light of the fact that, if anyone knows how the timing tends to work for MBA applications, it's guys like Eric and me. Even if I hit round one or early decision, how will it really take? That is to say, gosh, it's April now, May, June, July, August, September. 6 months from now, I'm going to be submitting my applications for round one. Last time I checked, John, 6 months is a really long time, right? But anyway, my point is, I hate to burst everyone's bubble. All of these are wrong. Okay, every single one is wrong. Okay, we're going to talk about why. All right, and again, if you have questions, type them in. I see some coming in already, which is great. Let's take each of these one by one. Okay, the first reason to not start is that essay questions change year to year. You know what? They really don't. Some questions will change. A couple of years ago, Wharton threw everybody for a loop. They changed everything. But at the end of the day, almost all of the questions will be the same year to year. If you were to prepare the MBA essay questions for a school in year one, for the following year, you'd be about 80% of the way done. Okay, so if you want to get started, you should. Okay, essay questions will not change that much, period. And by the way, even the ones that do change, that doesn't actually matter. At the end of the day, and we're going to get to this at the end of the presentation, it doesn't matter what the essay questions are. You're going to tell your best stories. I don't care if they ask, describe a failure, describe a success, describe a leadership experience, describe it. None of that matters. You're going to write the same stories no matter what. So the fact that the applications haven't been released, the fact that the essay questions haven't been announced, it actually doesn't matter. Okay? The work that you would do if you were to start today will be at least 80% of the way the same. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The same thing is true for the actual applications. We know what the applications are going to be. A couple of years ago, UCLA added an optional video. That was interesting. But 99% of everything that gets submitted is the same year to year. Okay, number 3. Well, John, my application and background are pretty much set. That's true, but there's still time to do lots and lots of stuff. Okay, and that's what we're here to talk about today. What are some of the things that we can do? You can tap into extracurriculars, and there's some pretty smart ways to do that that won't look like you're just cramming at the end of the day. You can also work hard within your jobs. You can identify some weaknesses. You can start to pick them off, start to beat them. We're going to talk about all that stuff. And finally, here's one thing that I want everybody to know. It's great that we've got, what are we up to? Almost 130 people so far on this call so far. Everybody here is starting very early. Okay, but here's a promise. I'm going to make a promise to everybody on this webinar right now. Okay, every single person, right now we're up to 127 people. I promised all 127 people on this call, no matter how early you think you are starting this process, no matter how prepared you think you are, you will be rushed at the end of the day. Everybody says, gosh, I'm starting so early, I'm just going to get all my applications done round one. I'm here to tell you, that never happens. Never happens. Okay, there's always, always, always a bunch of applications that go in round 2 because you've run out of time. There are always applications that go in round 3. Okay, I promise you, you will be rushed. I've done 12,000 applications. Okay, never, not once in my career has somebody gotten all of his 7 or 9 or 10 or whatever applications in round 1. It just doesn't happen. Okay, things just take too long. Now, why should you believe me? Why should you listen to what I'm saying? Here's my quick, this will be the last thing I say about my company, then we're going to get into those reasons. You know, we've done over 12,000 applications in 5 years. Over half of our client base tends to be international. And, you know, I think the real key is everybody you're going to be working with is a Magic 7 MBA. If you want to go to Harvard, how about you work with a guy that went to Harvard? That's a pretty good idea, right? You know, another key aspect of our company is my co-partner, my co-founder, my partner in business, Raj Patil. He's a creative type. He's a Hollywood guy. That's his background. You know, we believe it takes both. It isn't enough just to work with business people. You know, I've been to HBS, and I got to tell you, most of the guys in my class are not good writers. They're not even necessarily good communicators. One thing's for sure, they're not creative. We believe that it takes both of those things. You know, the last comment I want to make here is that we're actually in the process of launching a new website. Our company is changing names. Our company is changing brands. There are a lot of interesting reasons as to why that is, but within the coming weeks you're going to see a bunch of new announcements from us about the new company, Admissionado. That is our new name. That is our new brand. Nothing is changing. We weren't acquired by, you know, anybody. We're still doing exactly what we do. Same service, same plan. The only difference is cooler website, and we've been working real hard on it. So check it out. We'll be making more announcements as we go. Now, let's get into it. The following are the 5 things you can do now to improve your MBA application. Okay, we're going to get into all of these in particular, but let's do just a quick overview. School selection. Okay, a lot of people are spending a lot of time clicking through MBA websites. Okay, we're gonna make things much easier for you. Stop clicking through MBA websites. Okay, none of that matters. Okay, secondly, evaluate your weaknesses. Sorry, we're talking turkey. Evaluate your weaknesses. Okay, there are things in everybody's backgrounds that you can fix right now. Too many people are just sitting back and waiting. You can actually fix weaknesses. Okay, we're going to talk about how, very specifically. 3, hone your extracurriculars. Okay, it's not too late. Okay, we're going to talk about how, very specifically, you can make your current extracurriculars better, or you can make your current lack of extracurriculars existent. Okay, 4, gut check or hone your career vision. Okay, this is the area where you probably need to work with somebody, not even a professional, but at least people that understand business, maybe people a little bit more experienced than you are. Okay, you got to gut check and hone your career vision. Okay, we're going to talk about that later today. And finally, greatest hits. Okay, I don't care what the essay questions are. Okay, I don't care how the questions change. I don't care what you get asked in an interview. Okay, I'm telling you, none of that matters. Okay, everybody on this call, we're up to 135 people. Maybe we hit 200 by the end of this hour. What I'm here to tell you is the essay questions don't matter. Interview questions don't matter. What everybody on this call needs to think about is what are your best stories? Okay, what are the instances in your life that show you at your best? Okay, you can start thinking about that now. I don't care what the essay questions are. Start thinking about that now. All right, now, let's get a little bit more specific. And again, please join me in welcoming Georgia the Bulldog. She'll be joining us on almost every slide. All right, time to blow your minds. Okay, clients spend a lot of time asking us, hey, John, what do you think about this program for me? You know, I got a 730 on my GMAT. You know, I'm really thinking about, is Kellogg right for me or is it Stanford? People are spending a lot of time thinking about this. What about this location? You know, this school offers this. You know, I heard that the red, I forget what the name is, Cornell's Investment Club is really cool. Is Cornell good for finance? Or am I better off going to, you know, Harvard, even though Harvard isn't really known for finance? Okay, here's the key. Okay, and this is what's going to blow your minds. There's only one thing that you need to think about when you're considering which MBA program. Okay, let's go to the best school you can get into. Okay, that's it. Go to the best school you get into. Okay, stop wasting your time. Stop clicking through websites. Stop reaching out to people at schools that you may not apply to. There's no reason to visit 20 business schools. Okay, you're going to go to the best school you can get into. Hey John, I'm a marketing guy. I read that Carnegie Mellon's marketing, let's come up with a better example. Hey John, I'm an IT guy. Okay, I read that USC's entrepreneurship and IT program, I heard that Babson's IT program, entrepreneurship program, ranked higher than Kellogg's. Kellogg's is a marketing school, right? You know, should I apply to Babson even though I have the qualifications to go to Kellogg? Okay, the key is you go to the best school you can get into. The key is reputation. Why? Well, because you're going to meet amazing people, classmates, professors. You're going to get a job. Okay? You go to the best school you can get into. I went to Harvard Business School. They offered one real estate class at the time when I was there. I didn't take it because I couldn't get in because everybody wanted to. But that doesn't matter because even though there was no real estate program there, I still got 3 job offers, and I ended up going to work for the best real estate development company in the country upon graduation. Okay, you go to the best school you can get into. Okay, forget everything else. Stop wasting your time. Don't get stuck on school selection. Okay, so what do you do today? We're going to try to be very specific today. We're going to try to avoid theories, avoid generalities. What do you do today? Well, you develop your list of 7 schools, 10 schools. That's it. Don't get creative. If you have good test scores, you should be looking at schools' reputation. Now, what is the best school you can get into? That, of course, is a trickier question. That's tougher. And it's something that we can speak to in Q&A if you like, but it's not what we're here to talk about today. You should visit schools. Okay, you should reach out to student leaders, professors, alums. That's work that you can do today. Okay, but rather than just sending out blankets, hey, should I apply to this school? What makes your school different? Forget all that. Coming up with your list of schools should be easy. It should be quick. You go to the best school you can get into. Okay, spend your time elsewhere. Mainly, just go to the best school you can get into. All right, somehow we've managed to go 25 minutes and we're only 1/5 of the way through this presentation, so let's keep going. Step 2, evaluate your weaknesses. You see, people assume that they can't make their backgrounds better at this stage of the game, and it's not true. Okay, think, everyone on this call, we're up to 137. Everyone on this call needs to think about what are my weaknesses. Okay, an admissions committee is going to look at your background. What's a possible weakness? Well, I don't have enough international management experience. I'm sure we have people who are attending right now from India who've never left, China who've never left. So let's see, maybe that's your background. I don't have enough international experience. So what do? Tomorrow you walk into your boss's office with an idea. You say, hey man, you know, I'd love to do a project on best practices in the U.S. I want to do a project on best practices in the Western world. Best practices world. See, it doesn't even matter. Okay, you tell your boss you're going to do it in your own time. It's not going to take he's going to think, gosh, you know, that's a big waste of time. I don't care about the stupid project. Yes, you can do it if you want. Okay, why would he say no? Assure him you're going to do it on weekends. Okay, now you have something to write an essay about. You know that it's not very important. I know that it's not very important. But the admissions committee doesn't have to know. Do an international project. Now one of your 5 essays is international. You have made a weakness into a strength. Okay, your GMAT score is low. Your TOEFL score is low. Okay, all right, so enroll in a class. Get an English tutor. Okay, these are things you can fix. You don't need the grade necessarily, not yet, but enroll in the class. Show the admissions people that you get it, that you're trying to improve your background. I don't have a strong recommender. Okay, so make a mediocre recommender a strong recommender. Okay, do that work today. You have 6 months. Cultivate a relationship. All right? Weakness. You know, there was no sizzle in my application. I come from an overrepresented applicant pool. Okay. So, fix it. You're never going to be able to get around the fact that you're an IT applicant from India who's also a male. But what can you do? I don't know, something interesting? Jump out of an airplane. Adopt a turtle. Start a Menudo cover band. Okay, do something. All right? Fix it. Everybody on this call today needs to think about one or two, we're up to 140 people, one or two weaknesses that you have in your application. Everyone's got them. Okay, and come up with a plan to fix them. Fix them. Okay, you can't overhaul your background, but you certainly can come up with a new topic for an essay question, for example, that addresses a weakness. All right, let's move on. Okay, step 3, hone your extracurriculars. Okay, everybody wants to be well-rounded, right? Even Georgia the Bulldog. You know, schools don't accept profiles, they accept people. Okay, so now I know everybody's thinking, John, you know, you must be smoking crack if you think that it's possible to fabricate an extracurricular background in the next 6 months. Let's talk about it. Okay, there are two types of candidates that approach us at this stage. Okay, the first is MBA candidate type 1. He's already got some good extracurriculars. Okay, candidate 1, let's call him Ricky M. He's an investment banker, a Stanford grad, and a key member of that hot new boy band Menudo. Okay, great. Sounds to me like Ricky M has got his act together, right? He's a banker, he went to a good school, and he's a singer. That's great. Now, I'm going to tell you how even Ricky M in the next 6 months can make his extracurriculars look even better. Okay, MBA candidate type 2 is the other type of guy that approaches us at this stage. And he does not have his extracurricular act together. Here's candidate 2. Let's call him one-hit wonder Matthew Wilder. You may remember Matthew Wilder from that song, Break My Stride, which is to say, ain't nothing gonna break my stride. All right, here's how it works. Okay, everyone in this call falls into one of these two categories, either the Ricky Martin category or the Matthew Wilder category. All right, if you're in the Ricky Martin category, you're pretty well-rounded already. Okay, but there's still things you can do. Let's talk about it. One is, you already have extracurriculars. Okay, good. How about you go to the guy that runs that extracurricular and you come up with a plan, okay, a plan to do something leadership-oriented, something cool, something unusual. Okay, the combination of extracurriculars and leadership is like solid gold. Okay, we need those two. Let's try to come up with both of those if we can. Okay, what about other opportunities? You know, I look at my resume. I'm very interested in religion. I've done a lot of interfaith religion stuff. What else can I do? I don't know. Let's add another religion to the mix. I've never volunteered at a church before. So yeah, I'm adding something new in the last 6 months, but it's related to all the other stuff that I've done. Okay, that's still credible. If you have a proven track record of acting and you start to volunteer tomorrow at an acting workshop, it doesn't seem like something new. It seems like something you've been doing for the past 6 months, past 6 years. Okay, what about adding an international component to what you do? You know, I'm interested in acting, but hey, there's this cool international acting endeavor. I can subscribe to that. I can get involved in that. Now, how cool would that be? It's not too late. Remember, you're tapping into your background. You already do acting stuff. You already do something similar. All you're adding is a new aspect to it that won't sound new to an admissions committee. Okay, it'll sound old. It'll sound like you've been doing it for a long time, which of course you have. Okay, or, of course, if you've already got your extracurriculars figured out, the other thing you can do is pat yourself on the back and focus on the other 4 items from our list today. Now, let's move on to the next guy. One-hit wonder Matthew Wilder. Okay, he does not have his act together. He does not have extracurricular activities. There's some people on this call, we're up to 141. There's some people on this call today who think to themselves, man, I got to tell you, John, I am screwed. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to fix this thing. I've been working very hard, I work very hard in college. I'm an investment banker. I work 100 hours a week. I have no extracurriculars at all. Okay, what am I going to do about it? Well, let's talk about it. There's plenty that you can do. The first is, what if you were involved in an extracurricular when you were in college? What if you were involved 2 years ago? Okay, what I'm telling you is you can get involved in that group again. Let's say that when you were in college you did Toys for Tots, which is just the name of a non-for-profit. Okay? If you were to plug back into Toys for Tots today, okay, it would look like you've been committed to it for the past 5 years. Now you can say, you can even write an essay about it, right? Hey, for the past 5 years I've been volunteering at Toys for Tots. Guess what? That's true. Okay, what if when you were in college you tutored a kid in English? Say you live in Hungary and you do English tutoring. Okay. What if you were to start doing that again? Now you can say, for the past 5 years, okay, I've been doing English tutoring. Hey, it's not random. It doesn't seem random. Okay, if you were to do something totally new and random, yes, that would seem new. That might seem see-through. But that's not what we're recommending. Okay, we're recommending you plug into something that's logical, something that you've already done before. Okay, now it's very, very logical. Okay, what else could you do? Well, if you're in a bind, okay, maybe you have friends or family that can plug you into some sort of extracurricular in a hurry. Okay, the way that schools are going to confirm that you are involved is they're going to call the guy that runs that extracurricular. By the way, they're probably not going to call him anyway. Now, we're not recommending that you lie. We will never recommend that. You got to tell the truth, 100%. Not only because it's the moral thing to do, but because it's bad business not to. If you get caught, you won't get into business school. But of course, if you can list a friend or a relative on your application as somebody who also runs a nonprofit, that person can give you a stellar recommendation. Okay, the third thing you can do, if you have no extracurriculars at all, is just start something brand new. This is the worst thing you can do, but it's better than nothing. Okay, better than nothing. There's going to be a section on this application where you have to talk about all of the extracurriculars that you've done. Okay, if you leave that section blank, you are in big trouble. Okay, you need to write words. You need to create stuff in that section. All right. So yeah, it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. I like the other two examples better. Okay, so extracurriculars. This is something that everybody needs to focus on today, no matter who you are. Okay, whether you're in the Ricky Martin camp or the Matthew Wilder camp, there is work that you can do to strengthen your extracurriculars today. How scary is that? All right, step 4. And remember, there are only 5 steps here, so we're probably 5 to 10 minutes out. So keep the questions coming, and we will switch over to Q&A shortly. Okay, 4th thing that everybody should do is make sure that your career vision makes sense. Okay, all too often we'll get a client in September, and they'll have this bizarre career vision, and it's too late to make it, to help him so that it makes sense. Okay, a kid wants to do a career change. Let's say the kid's in the Army, and he says, you know what, I want to go into marketing. I really feel like I'm a marketing guy. You know, my question to that kid is, can you prove it? Do you have any proof at all that you're good at marketing? Do you have any proof that you care about marketing? Do you have any proof that if you were to get a job in marketing, you would enjoy it? Okay, this is work that everybody needs to do now. And again, we're trying to keep everything real simple. Okay, no theories today. Every theory that we lay out is going to be backed up by a very actionable, practical plan. Okay, everybody on this call needs to look at the sentence. Try to fill in the blanks. Okay, given my passion for A and my strong background in B, when I grow up, I want to do C. Okay, if you can fill in that sentence and keep it one sentence, then you are in good shape. Okay, if you have all sorts of twists and turns, then you're not in good shape. Okay, now, if there are twists and turns, you need to make it so that they're not. Let me give you an example. I mentioned there's a guy in the Army who wants to go into marketing, or a guy who used to be in the Army and he wants to go into marketing. What can he do today? What can he do in the next 6 months to make it seem like he actually understands marketing, to make it seem like he is a marketing guy. Okay? Two things, for sure. Okay, skipping down to the bottom of this slide. The first is, no matter what city he's in, no matter what town he's in, there's probably a marketing club. Okay, join the club. He needs something on his resume. He needs something in his background that shows that he is committed to marketing. Otherwise, it's just going to sound very random. It's going to sound very strange. I'm not going to believe you. You want to go into marketing? Why? Prove it. Okay, what else can he do? He's got to think about his background. He's got to find marketing examples in his background. He's got to somehow bridge the gap between the Army and marketing. And he's got 6 months to do it. Something. We need something. Join a marketing club. Reach out to people, alums, current students, somebody who work in the marketing field. Okay, understand the marketing field. Prove to us that you've done the research. Prove to us that you can lay out a clear plan in marketing. Okay, if your career vision has twists and turns to it, if it doesn't fit easily and evenly into this sentence with the A's and the B's and the C's, okay, you've got some work to do, and you can do it over the course of these next 6 months. Okay, before we move on to step 5, there's a quick career vision refresher course. Okay, and again, just trying to keep things nice and simple. This Army guy, let's keep talking about this Army guy who wants to go into marketing. Okay, does your career vision tie your past experiences to your future goals? Okay, everyone on this call, we're up to 145 people. Okay, everyone on this call needs to think about this. If your career vision connects your past experiences to your future goals, it makes sense. I'm going to say it again. The only way your career vision makes sense is if your past experiences link to your future goals. Okay? So how are we going to get this Army guy's past experiences to link to his future goals in marketing? Well, there are two things I can think of. One is we got to think about his background. Show me marketing experience in the Army. You have to. Okay, even if it was only one stupid little project, we got to find some marketing experience in this Army guy's background. Otherwise, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe that you're going to be good at marketing. I don't believe that you care about marketing. None of it. Okay, the second thing you can do is, well, let's go in order. Number 2, put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter. Okay, this Army guy says he wants to go into marketing. All right, I'm going to pretend that I'm a Procter & Gamble. I'm a P&G, the biggest marketing company on earth. Okay, I'm now looking at resumes. I'm going to hire people. Okay, why would I hire this Army guy? What has he got? He's got Army experience. Great. Does he have any marketing experience? Does he have any proof at all, anywhere, that he's good at marketing? If not, we've got a problem. Okay, you've got to think about it. Everyone in this call has got to think about that. Okay, look at your resume. Would you hire you, given your short-term goal, given your long-term goal? Okay, and anyone can tell a story. You'll say, well, gosh, yeah, I mean, I'm great in interviews. I can explain. No. It's got to be clear. Admissions committees will spend all of 5 minutes reading your application. 5 minutes. Got to be super clear. Okay, number 3, get specific. Okay, your career goal sucks. I don't care how much it makes sense. Your career goal sucks if it's not specific. What companies are you going to apply to? What position are you going to have? Have you done the research? Does it make sense? Okay, it's got to be specific. Okay, what's the point? The point is, pass all of these 3 tests. Where it's a little bit of a tangent here, but career vision is so important. So important in an MBA application. If you miss the boat here, you're going to be in big trouble. Okay, these are your 3 tests. Pass them and you're in great shape. Fail them and you're screwed. Now, again, fix any of these things. Okay, you've got 6 months. 6 months for this Army guy to join some marketing clubs. 6 months for this Army guy to think about his past marketing experience. 6 months for this Army guy to reach out to as many marketing executives as he can. Make contacts, join groups, join clubs, mixers. How about take an internship? He's an Army guy, maybe he's got some free time right now. Okay, take an internship. Work on weekends. Unpaid, doesn't matter. Anything will connect this guy to marketing, because right now he's got nothing. All right. Finally, step 5. What else can everybody actually do? Remember, no theories here today. These are lists of actual things that everybody, we're up to, what, 145 people. Actual things that everyone here can actually do. Okay, here's maybe the easiest one, and maybe the most important. And it's not listen to Bob Marley legend. Okay, the question is, how many Bob Marley songs can you name? The answer, at least in my case, and I know I'm a little older than almost everybody on this call, but the only Bob Marley songs that we all know are the ones that are on his Legend album, for the most part. Okay, why is that important? I'll tell you why. Because I want everybody on this call to remember this image. Remember Bob Marley. Remember the idea of greatest hits. Why? Georgia, yeah, you get the idea. Why? Okay, and we touched on this briefly. The reason is the actual questions that are going to be asked are easy. Doesn't matter. Every school has a theory, and it's the same theory. And their theory is we are going to come up with the best questions ever to learn about you. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is forget the stupid questions. Maybe they change a little bit. For the most part, they won't. Even if they did, forget the questions. The work that everybody needs to do, and you can start that word right now, is make a list of your best stories. Who are you? What are your best 4 stories? What are your best 5 stories? It doesn't matter what the questions are. I would argue, and some people, I recognize some names on this attendee list, and, I apologize for repeating myself to those people who've heard me say this before. But I would argue it doesn't matter what the question is. I could tell you the same story about myself, and I could change it to be a strength. I could change it to describe a weakness. Remember, same story. Hey, it's the time I saved a child from a burning building. Okay, it's strength. Gosh, I'm so brave. That's my greatest strength. Or it's a weakness. Gosh, there were 3 other babies, and it shows that I lack confidence, that I didn't go after the other 3. I can show it as my greatest accomplishment. I can show it as my greatest failure. My point is, forget the questions. Everyone on this call needs to come up with their list of greatest hits. Okay, and that work can start today. Start your list today. What are your stories? By the way, as you come up with these stories, as you develop this list, and it won't take you more than 20 minutes just to think about it. Don't write the essays yet. Just come up with your best stories. You're going to expose your strengths on paper and your weaknesses on paper. You're going to say, John, I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and that's just great. But that's the same to me as saying, hey, I interviewed very well. Forget that. Write down your best 3 stories, your best 5 stories. Okay, that is the version of you that is going to play on your MBA applications. Okay, maybe there's a weakness there that you didn't see. Okay, that would be interesting. Okay, that's work that you can do today. Okay, what are your best stories? What are you going to write about in your MBA applications? The questions are irrelevant because you're going to write the same things. Okay, this here is our last slide, so bear with us. The good news is, right now you have plenty of time. Plenty of time. 6 months is a lot of time. Okay, in some cases it's even enough time to switch a job, for example. We've seen that, and it's just fine. A lot of time. But the bad news is that a month from now, 2 months from now, or certainly by the time applications are due in October and December, everybody is going to say, everybody, I promise you, 145 people on this list, everybody is going to say, man, where did the time go? Gosh, John was right. I had so much time, and I'm still stuck submitting half of my applications round 2. And I may even have to do some applications round 3 because I did such a bad job round 1. Okay? So there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is you have tons of time today. The bad news is time is fading fast. And I promise you, you will all be pressed soon. So why are we here today? Because there's a lot of very, very practical, very actionable stuff that everybody on this call can and should start doing. Okay, stop being stuck. I know so many people here are stuck on what school should I apply to. It's a waste of time. Okay, it's not a valuable use of your time to click through MBA websites. Stop doing it. Okay, you know what schools you're going to apply to. Go to the best schools you can get into. You at least know what 4 of the schools are of the 7, and don't apply to fewer than 7, by the way. Okay, evaluate your weaknesses. Okay, what are your weaknesses? Pick 1, pick 2, and fix them. Make your weaknesses your strengths. You can do it. Okay, get creative with your extracurriculars. I don't care if you don't have any. There's still stuff that you can do. And if you have great extracurriculars, there's all kinds of great ways that you can strengthen your extracurricular background. Okay, hone your career vision. Reach out to experts. Okay, if somebody were to call me right now and say, hey man, I want to go into real estate, or hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. You know, this is my plan. Does it make sense? I could tell him very quickly. Why? Because I've done both of those things. I worked as a real estate executive for 5 years. I worked in real estate for 10, and I've started a number of companies. Reach out to people that know. Run your career goals by an expert. Doesn't have to be me. Okay, run it. If you want to go into marketing, call up somebody that works in marketing. Okay, there are a lot of wannabe experts out there. Run your career goals by an expert. Find out if it makes sense. Okay, if not, you've got 6 months to start to close some of those gaps. Okay, finally, make your list of greatest hits. Okay, there's no reason not to. It'll take you, honestly, it'll take you 5 minutes, but start to think about it. It will help you expose your weaknesses. Okay, and frankly, it'll also save us a lot of time come late September when we're trying to do that brainstorming together. Okay, this is work that you can do on your own. What are your best stories? 4 of them, 5 of them, 7 of them. Think about it. You can do that thinking today, and it doesn't matter what the actual essay questions are. As always, guys, we are here to answer any and all of your questions. I would be disappointed in myself if I didn't mention one more time our 30% discount. It's the biggest discount we've ever offered. We're just trying to keep our guys busy. You know, the company is going to get obviously swamped in June, July, August. But right now we've got some bandwidth, got a lot of guys that want to work. So take advantage of this promo if you can. It's literally the biggest discount that the company has ever offered. I hope this was helpful, guys. Again, tried to keep it very actionable, very practical, and move away from just sort of theories, which I know can be very frustrating. And with that, I will turn it back to Eric. Eric, it's all yours, man.
Thank you so much, John.
Should we do some questions first?
Yes, we should. And my apologies. I think I accidentally cut you off there. But John, why don't you proceed with the Q&A?
Got it. We're on. Let's get into some questions and answers, guys. Let's see. I'm low on. Okay, here's the first question. I'm low on extracurriculars. If I start working on it now, will it not send a wrong message to the admissions committee? It's actually a great question, and it's something I tried to touch on in the presentation. There are 2 things that you can do. The first is, in fact, I want to go back to that slide if I can, the old Ricky Martin, Matthew Wilder slide. You're low on extracurriculars, so that puts you in the Matthew Wilder camp. Okay, so what can you do? The first thing that you can do is reach out to other organizations or other types of organizations that you have been involved with in the past. Okay, what does that mean? Let's say that one time you gave blood at the Red Cross. It's not ideal, but what if you were to volunteer at the Red Cross once a week for the next 6 months? Now you can say, arguably, that you have volunteered at the Red Cross for the past 6 years, right? Okay, what if you adopted a dog when you were 11, and now you start working with the organization that gave you the dog? Okay, you can now say, gosh, on and off, I've been working with this organization for the past few years. You get the idea. You don't have to start from scratch. Okay, you don't want to start from scratch if you can help it. So that's the first bullet. Reach out to somebody you used to be involved in. Okay, the second bullet point there is, what about friends and family? Maybe somebody can give you a recommendation there. Maybe somebody can give you some help. Okay, maybe somebody can plug you into something quickly. Okay, remember, the business schools will reach out to your contacts, people whom you have listed in your application, and ask how long you've been involved. Wouldn't it be great if they reached out to one of your best friends or to, your father-in-law or something like that? That is another way you can get around this problem. And the third way to get around it is, I hate to say it, but doing something over the period of 6 months is better than nothing. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Doing something is better than nothing. Okay, so yeah, it's not ideal, of course, and that's okay. But it's not the end of the world. Do it anyway. You're going to have you're going to have an entire section in your application to say what you have been doing with your life outside the office. I would rather that you fill that with things that you have done recently than show that you have done absolutely nothing. Okay? So that's the third bullet on this slide. I prefer the first bullet. That's your best bet. I also like the second bullet. That's your second best bet, although it may create a moral dilemma for you. Okay? Finally, I like the third bullet. The least most, if you will, but better than nothing. Okay, here's another question. What is the ideal number of schools to apply to? 3 to 5? More? I'm going to do something here which most people probably wouldn't do. I'm going to give you a number. Okay, a number of schools to apply to. Okay, your number is 7. Apply to 7 schools. John, 140 people may wonder, why 7? That sounds very random to me. And the answer is yes, it is random in many ways, but it also makes a whole lot of sense. Let me explain it. The first is your 7th school application, okay, will go by very, very quickly. It'll probably take you, honestly, guys, your 7th application will take you 6 hours total, maybe less. Your 6th application will take you 8 hours. You get the idea. As you add additional schools, your applications will go much, 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 much more quickly. Now, in addition to that, as you add more schools, your applications will also get much, 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 much better. Okay? So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is you would be foolish to not add more schools. Now, I believe that you should add some schools that are a stretch for you. I believe there are some safety schools that you should add as well. And then there are a bunch of schools that are right in the middle. Okay? Now, there should be at least one of each of those kinds. Why do we like the number 7? Well, it gives you the chance to apply to 3 stretch schools, 3 safe schools, and 4 schools that are right in the middle. I like that. You're going to get into business school. With 7 schools, your applications are going to get better and better over time. Excuse me. You're not shooting yourself in the foot by only applying to easy schools, okay, which frankly, some consulting companies favor. And you're giving yourself a nice safety net as well. So that's my number, and I'm sticking to it, 7. Back when I applied to business schools, I applied to 7 schools as well, with similar logic, although certainly we've honed it through the years. But there's no reason not to apply. 5 is a minimum. Honestly, by the time you do your 7th application, your 8th application is probably going to take 3 hours. Your 10th application is probably going to take 20 minutes. Why? Because you're done already. You've already done everything. You've written all of your essay questions. You can just repurpose the crap out of all of them. Okay, so don't be afraid of 7 schools. All right, next question. What if my current workplace is in total chaos? I love it. I know how that goes. Promotions have been nixed. The relationship between me and management has become strained. How do I pick good recommenders if I can't use my boss? Would a team lead in a volunteer organization contact be good recommendation letters? Okay, so it sounds like the question is we've got one of the folks that's listening here, is an unusual work environment where things are going a little bit haywire, everyone's unhappy, and there is not an obvious choice for someone to write the letters of recommendation. Nothing is more poisonous, or I should say few things are more poisonous to MBA applications than cold letters of recommendation. Okay, so if you think your boss is going to write you a bad letter of recommendation, don't ask him to write you a letter of recommendation. Okay, that would show, among other things, poor judgment on your part. Okay? So yeah, if you can't get a recommendation from your boss, that's okay. I got into all the schools I applied to, and I didn't have a letter of recommendation from my boss. Of course, if I were to tell him I was leaving, my bonus would be smaller. I wouldn't be promoted. Of course, I get it. Very common. That's nothing to be afraid of. Now, that being said, you do need people who can speak to your work background. Ideally, it's somebody at your current job, and it's got to be somebody who's senior to you. Do not pick somebody who is junior to you. That's a very, very, very big mistake, and we see that as well. Because, of course, the person who's junior to you, your employee is going to write you a glowing recommendation, especially if it impacts his bonus, right? So the moral of the story is you need somebody who can speak to your work background, at least one person who can speak to your work background all day long. Okay, now there was a question in here, what about a volunteer organization? Absolutely. If that person can speak to your background, if that person can speak to your skills, you should absolutely use that person. Usually that would be your third recommendation. You'd have two from work, and one would be the volunteer guy. But in the event that your work is all upside down and your volunteer guy becomes second, no big deal. No big deal. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Let's see, got a couple more great ones here. Let's see, I'm going to take the easier one first. Question 5, why is it necessary to visit college? If I can't visit, what can I do to mitigate this? I was chatting with a admissions committee member at a school. I'm never allowed to mention the school, but this was about a year ago. And again, my apologies to people who've heard me tell this story before. But I asked her the same question. I said, gosh, a lot of these applicants are in other countries, for example, China, India. How could they possibly visit your school? I mean, that's going to cost thousands of dollars. They would need to take time off of work, and so forth and so on. Rather than tell you what I think the answer is to your question, folks, I'm going to tell you what her answer was. Okay, after all, that's my job anyway, really, is to channel these people. Her answer was, how can you possibly tell me that you are 100% sure that you want to go to this school if you've never been here? There are a lot of schools out there. How can you know without seeing it? Okay? That's her answer. I said, well, what about the money issue? It's going to cost, what, $2,000, $5,000 for me to do a trip. Her response is, it's going to cost $155,000 to attend this school for 2 years. Okay? And you can't come up with two to visit to decide whether or not it's worth it. She doesn't buy it. Okay? Now, in a perfect world, you visit the schools. It's that simple. I honestly, it's one of the benefits to my having been in this business for so long is I didn't realize that. Up until a couple of years ago, I didn't realize just how important it was until I had this conversation, and I later corroborated it with others. It just goes to show, right? There's always something to learn. Expertise is evolving over time. Anyway, now, if you tell me you can't go, you can't visit, I tell you that I don't believe you. You should go anyway. But, if for some reason you actually can't go, what can you do? Well, you do your best. You go to all of the alumni outings, all the alumni things you can in your city. You reach out to as many people on campus as you can. Somehow you need to make it seem as though, gosh, I haven't been, but I really, 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 really understand this campus. You need to write your essays in such a way that you seem like an expert. How that happens, I don't know, because it's hard. but the only thing you can do if you're not there in person is make it happen over the telephone. So talk to 5 people, talk to 10 people. But again, it's cop-out. Okay, it's not as good. Okay, here's a question that I knew as I was doing this presentation we would come to. John, when you say go to the best school you can, my question is, what is the best school for me? Okay, this is a good question, and it's hard, and it depends for everybody. But here's how we look at it. Okay, and we have clients who are applying to other types of schools, not just business schools. It's different for them. Okay, but in the world of business, okay, what does it all come down to? It comes down to reputation. Okay, it comes down to work. It comes down to business, right? We're talking here today about business school. So what does that mean? Well, it means getting jobs. Right, so what's the best way for you to get a job? Again, I want to tell that story about me at Harvard. Is Harvard a real estate school? Nope, definitely not. 1 real estate class total, and I didn't take it. But it doesn't actually matter because of the companies that I went recruiting for, they only hire at Harvard and at Stanford. Stanford, by the way, also not a real estate program. UC Berkeley sure is. Haas is a great real estate program. I guess my point is, at a certain level, who cares? Can you go to the best school you can get into? Now, the question is, how do you determine what the best school is? My answer is reputation. So, follow-up question. John, okay, I get it. I understood that the first time. But how do you judge a school's reputation? A lot of different ways. The first is rankings. Okay, rankings are an unavoidable and sad but important means of gleaning information in this world. Business people like rankings for a lot of reasons. One is it's just easy. Why should your resume be 1 page? Well, because business people don't have a lot of time. Why are rankings important? Well, if the rankings say that Harvard and Stanford are #1 for long enough, business people believe it, and it saves them time and energy. Oh, he's a Harvard Business School guy. Good. I don't need to worry about vetting his intellect. I don't need to worry about vetting how impressive this kid is. I assume Harvard, Stanford already did all that. Okay, so unfortunately rankings are important, but they're not the end of the world. There's more to it. What else is there? Well, every school, forget every school, every career has its own reputation baseline. Okay, so if you want to go work for Procter & Gamble in the marketing world, for example, call somebody in marketing. Hey, man, what are the schools that are best respected in marketing? What are the schools that are best respected by Procter & Gamble? Okay, call your friend at McKinsey. Ask where they go recruiting. Okay, now, what you're going to find is a pretty good correlation between their list of schools and the U.S. World News Report rankings. It's a sad truth, but it's the bottom line. Okay, so reputation. How do you gauge reputation? A few ways. 1 is rankings, right? 2 is reaching out to people in your field and asking them. They are the people that are going to be hiring you later. Okay, so why take my word for it? Why take Rupert Murdoch's word for it, right? Or whoever the publisher, Zimmerman, whoever the publisher is over at U.S. World News Report. Ask an employer, hey, what schools do you guys respect the most? They'll tell you straight up. Now, the third thing is it differs from country to country. Okay, Yale has a great business school, but if you're in China, it's really, 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 really great. Why? Because, Chinese have a lot of respect for the name Yale. Okay. If you're in China and you get into Yale and you get into Haas, maybe you go to Yale. Maybe that's got a better reputation in China. Maybe. Okay, if you're in the U.S. and you get into Yale and you get into Haas, maybe you go to maybe you go to Haas. Okay. Reason being, in the U.S., not in China, but in the U.S., especially in the real estate business, especially in nonprofit, especially in high tech. Haas is, quote unquote, a better school, better reputation. Okay, I hope that's clear. By the way, any more questions, send us an email, info, I-N-F-O, at precisionessay.com. We answer all of our emails, okay, every single one. With questions like these. We're running a little short on time. Got time for just a couple more. What about a person who has just about every component that is good, but not spectacular? Great question. Good ECs, good score, good work experience. What can he do to add the zing? Okay, the first thing is, and we get this question a lot. There are not as many people as you think who are actually good in every way. I don't remember seeing many candidates who do not have one or two weaknesses. Okay, schools want well-rounded people. This guy who's good in every way is actually a really, really, really good candidate. We were working with a guy last year, and he kept beating himself up. He kept saying, I'm just another consultant from Bain. Another white guy from New York consulting at Bain, blah, 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 with the 720 on the GMAT. This guy may fall into this good but not great category, I guess. I guess it's Bain but not McKinsey. I guess it's 720, not a 760. I guess he's from New York and not Bahrain, which would be more interesting. But there aren't that many kids, there aren't that many applicants that are actually good at everything. Given the choice between a kid who is really good at everything, that guy that works at Bain, and has been promoted only as quickly as everybody else, but he's got some good work experience at Bain, and he's got a 720 on his GMAT. I like that kid's chances better than somebody who's very, very risky. Somebody who is perhaps a musician, who had one hit, like our friend Matthew Wilder, but whose logic for going to business school does not make a whole lot of sense. That's risky. Believe me, my job is to make both of those guys get in, and I will. But given the choice between well-rounded, and very good versus not well-rounded, but the guy was an Olympic, runner or something, I and admissions committees will choose the person, the well-rounded person, all day long. Okay, so don't beat yourself. So that's my first answer, is don't beat yourself up for simply being well-rounded. Okay, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. The second part of your question is harder. How do you add zing? The answer is, if the zing is not there, you can't pretend that it is. I can't, certainly I don't know what your background is. There may be some zing that you don't know about. Work with somebody. It doesn't have to be a professional. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars necessarily if there's somebody whom you trust. But there is a chance that there's something in your application that is zing worthy that you don't know about because you don't understand how the admissions committee sees the world. Maybe there's something that is not zing worthy, period. But there's a way that you could write about it that makes it seem zing worthy. Let me give you a quick example. When I was applying to business school, there was a startup that I founded. In fact, the startup saw only modest, very, 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 very modest success. But we never turned a profit. Okay? But there was a way that I could write about that startup that made it sound very, very impressive. What did I say? I said, well, we raised some preliminary friends and family money, which is true. We ended up having over 300 clients who had signed up to work with the company. That was true. I wrote the business plan. That was true. I negotiated an acquisition deal where we made some money. I'm still friends with those guys. I was written, the guy who founded that company, the owner of that company, which acquired mine, wrote me a recommendation. Okay? All that stuff is true. Everyone's probably thinking, gosh, that sounds impressive, and it is. But there's another version of that story which is very modest. The company didn't make money. The acquisition money that I was paid to be acquired was a joke compared to the money that we'd poured into it. The point is, you can't pretend that there is zing if there isn't, but chances are there's something in your background that you don't recognize, which could be written in such a way, that it does have that zing. And that's where you need a third party. Again, it's up to you whether you want to pay somebody who does it for a living. But maybe somebody else can look at your background and say, hey, that sounds cool. Can you tell this story in a way that's cool? Okay. This will be our last question, folks. And again, before I turn it back over to Eric, any more questions, send them to us. info@precisionessay.com. We answer all of our emails, for better and for worse. We're very, very focused on everybody, on individuals. Okay. Last question. I'm still struggling with my GMAT. I'm aggressively studying right now. Should I focus on the GMAT primarily? I hope to take it in July. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, of course. The things that I've outlined in this presentation are not full-time jobs. Okay, we talked about these 5 things. Okay, I believe that you can study for your GMAT and do all of these things. By the way, good chance that not all of these things apply to you, which is fine. But short answer is the GMAT, it's sort of like rankings. Like, I wish the world existed in such a way where the GMAT were not so important. But sadly, and especially for those of us who are in overrepresented demographic groups, the GMAT is very, 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 very important. We worked with a girl last year. Her GMAT was a 730. She was Chinese. She ended up going to one of the Magic 7 schools. We later learned that her 730 was the lowest of any Chinese applicant who was accepted at this Magic 7 school. Can you imagine? That 730 is just barely enough to make the grade. Astonishing. Anyway, so in this presentation, my goal was not to make it seem as though the GMAT is not important. The GMAT is very, very important. And yes, if you're studying, and if you haven't gotten that magic number, whatever for you that magic number is, and of course it differs from person to person, group to group, but absolutely you need to be studying for the GMAT on top of all of the things that we talked about here today. And with that, Eric, I'm sure that we are indeed out of time here, so I respectfully kick it back over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that, guys. I was on mute for a moment there. But Jon Frank, really, really great session again. A lot of useful tips for those of us who are a little bit early in the process of thinking about their admissions for this fall. But you know what? That's a great thing. I'm very, very pleased to see the turnout today for this April session related to admissions happening this fall and winter. It says a lot about you guys that you're already ahead of the curve in terms of your competition in thinking about MBA admission strategy at this point of the year. I want to mention a few things. And so first is, of course, as I mentioned at the top of this call, to check out precisionsay.com. A wealth of information there. Really great blog, too. One of the blogs that I like to check out on a regular basis. And, of course, there are areas there to read through the services that they offer. Worth checking out. And also wanted to reiterate that Jon, Lauren, and the Precision Essay team have been very, very generous in offering a 30% discount on all their packages through from now until the end of April. And I feel personally very grateful that they're extending this to our BTGMAT community, their largest discount ever. Because they know that we're awesome. So appreciate that, Jon, Lauren, and team. And just a last sort of parting note, so we did make a recording of this session. It's going to be available in about 24 hours or so at youtube.com/beatthegmatcommunity. And there will be a follow-up email that's sent to you guys that provides some information about Precision Essay, where to find this recording. Precision Essay also said that if you email them at info@precisionessay.com, they will be able to share slides the slides that Jon had shared with us today for this presentation. One little note I just received. The Precision Essay is also hosting a number of upcoming webinars, and you can see a list of those webinars at precisionessay.com. So on behalf of Precision Essay and Beat the GMAT, I want to thank you guys, the audience members, for spending your evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world, with us to learn about the 5 things that you must know before applying to business school. Hopefully you took a lot of great notes and some of the lessons to heart, and wishing you really great admission success later this fall. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you later.